You know, when you look at this document that Obama put on his on the White House website, uh, it's not really doesn't require a technical person to demonstrate that it's a forgery or even a bad forgery because because there's a lot of differences between the way you would type up a document on a typewriter and the way you would create it on a computer, especially if you didn't understand typewriters or usages from the olden days, from the days of before computers. And so really the assumption that so and so refuted what's that word called, debunked a conspiracy theory is neither here nor there. This is a question of common sense, something anybody can tell about. uh, when you see, for instance, this number right here, you know, I had a computer person tell me that because her birth certificate had a lot of irregular text fonts and things in it, that it was because they when they create a birth document for somebody, they take it from different sources and it comes together. But it doesn't make any sense why it would come together in different fonts, different types of fonts. And, so let me show you what I mean. Or the fact that there's a misspelling here or a smiley face here. But of course, the first tip off for anybody who opens this document in Adobe Illustrator as opposed to Adobe Acrobat Reader, or just in the web browser here, is that if you open it in Adobe Illustrator, it comes in 9 editable layers. So let me see here. Let me take this out of, how do you get it out of full screen? Just a sec. Oh, here. Oh, wait, what? That's not what I wanted. Let's see. There. Now I go right over here. And if you open this baby up in Adobe Illustrator, you can see what I mean. Oh, here on this YouTube. Because I don't know how to run Adobe Illustrator. I don't have it, or its clone for that matter. Just see the background is being turned off, plus a few other pieces. Now most of the text is being turned off. Here the registrar stamp is being turned off, the date stamp, and now this stamp here, I forget what that's for. And then there's the I don't know what that is. Here's the word none under the occupation of mother, and only 3 words, 3 of those letters were being turned off. And let's see what else is going to happen. I guess the whole thing was under a layer. Now the funny thing is, when for some reason the establishment, no matter who they are, they let me back this up. No matter who the establishment is, they insist on uh, debunking whatever they're saying. For instance, this National Review article said that, oh, optical character recognition, if it's left on, will create those layers that you just saw. But that's crazy because those layers are very specific, and optical character recognition just obviously just does it in blocks, right? Now, the fact is that, as I said earlier, this was an amateur, a very naive person doing this, and nobody cared. They're just very disrespectful because it's kind of a circus. The government's a circus these days, And the people, and it always was really, I mean, even in the beginning, it was always a circus because John Adams, for instance, completely violated the Constitution with the Alien and Sedition Act. You know, he thought he was serious. He thought they were afraid of the French at the time. But for instance, this kid that created this document, and there is evidence that it was a younger person, he used the word African for the race of the father. You know, and everybody knows in '61 nobody used the word African. Came out in about '67 or '66, something like that. Or this number here is too high compared to somebody who was born the next day, the Nordyke twins. The Nordyke twins, why is that so little? I didn't do that the other day when I did that. Huh. Anyway, it's 10,638, and they were born on the 5th of August, her and her sister, and Gretchen, and I forget the other's name, and they were registered 3 days later, and yet their number is lower than Obama's supposed number. The next thing is that there's halos around the letters, like on this word Kapiolani. I guess that's Kapiolani Hospital. Halos aren't normal when you take a photograph or a copy of a document, you know, when you make a photocopy of a document. Or the fact that the text is kerned, you see. There are some worn keys that will throw a key off on a typewriter. But computers couple the letters together to save space, make it look better, stuff like that. And that's, you know, that coupling, that kerning, just doesn't occur on a typewriter. So that guy didn't know what he was doing there either. Or let's say the registrar strap has a misspelling in it. And of course, it's unheard of for a permanent document, for an official document to have a misspelling, that you know, a registrar stamp wouldn't have a misspelling in it, or this smiley face here. And then there's the thing that Paul Ivory discovered. He's been doing typefaces, or what do they call that stuff? Typesetting for 50 years, 55 years now, and you can see these are different typefaces. They're the same font, but these T's are obviously not the same typewriter, different typewriters that did that. Or the fact that part of the document was obviously taken out of a book, whereas Kapiolani here was not. Or the fact that the, let's see, I'll just go, instead of opening this one up, I'll just open this one up. And you see these letters are centered, you know, like what they call it, full justification or something. Or this letter is centered, Honolulu, Oahu. Nobody did that on a typewriter, boy. Or lady, whoever you are. Nobody did it on a typewriter. You know, it all went to the left margin. And of course, they would tab it over to get to the next section there. But this is crazy, you know. This is ignorance. And you know, and yeah, they would all come right to the margin. That's the way you did it in those days. That's what I learned. I learned how to type in the late '60s. Let's see. Okay, there's a mixture of grayscale and bitmap in there. So if I open this up, you can see that. The letter D looks like this L in this name here. But the rest of this is bitmap. This is solid. There's no anti-aliasing in it, you know. Anti-aliasing is when you photograph something, if there's different objects in the photograph, that the difference in the color between the two is gradual. It's not constant. It's not sudden, like this. And of course you can see the halos around these letters as well. But and also you see that these letters are exactly on the top. And this lady just had a baby, supposedly, and she signed her signature. It's not going to have perfect tops and bottoms to it, right? She's not going to be able to sign it that precisely, even if she didn't just have a baby. So it's craziness. It's craziness, and um, so you know it's the grayscale and all that, and then the fact that there's duplicate letters in there, right? You know, these letters are identical. They're identical pixels. It's different from the problem I mentioned above, where they had the same, they had different typefaces. See, these come from a different. These are not only come from the same typewriter, unlike the other situation where they came from different typewriters that put the document together. They they're copied letters from the same typing of something. Because if you hit a typewriter on a paper, it doesn't create the exact same pixels. You can see this T here, for instance, is different from this one, right? But the pixelation of these is identical with the pixelation of these. So I'm just trying to show here that it's insane. Here's another example of the different letter. Oh, that's the same letter. I thought I could. Here, the H is identical, and of course there's the smiley face and the misspelling again. And there are no other examples of this misspelling from those days, just in case you thought that's what it was. And here's the I. It's identical. See a little divot there, a little divot there, a little divot there. That's because of the fact that it's a copied letter. So, so this whole thing, and there's another problem with it. You see these letters here are penciled in. These numbers are penciled in according to United States Code. Now, when Mike Zullo investigated this whole thing and he went over to Hawaii, he found out that this is a U.S. code. And then the code 9 means this should be empty. So this is a made-up document. There's no doubt about it. You can see that this is grayscale and this is bitmap. And you can see that this 4 is constructed. I think it was constructed out of a 2. And you know, it's not level. They're not in line with each other. So it's a terrible forgery. Is what it really is. And there's a lot of the basic problem is that the government is just lying, you know, and the media is just lying because they're in bed with the government. It's a fascist society. We have a fascist news media. Of course, now we have the internet, so we can do things like this and be our own news people. And but you know, government always gets into lying, just like John Adams did 10 years when he passed the Alien Sedition Act, 10 years after he signed the Declaration of Independence. I mean the Constitution saying that you can't restrict free speech. That's exactly what the Alien Sedition Act did.